I'm Maureen Ballatori, and this is Spilled Salt, a podcast on the thrills and spills from the food, beverage, and agriculture industries. Today's guest is Julia Taylor. She's the founder of Rosemary and Pine Goatscaping Company. I was so excited to bring her on the show today. They're redefining land management through an unconventional but deeply effective lens. Goats. Julia blends regenerative agriculture, animal stewardship, and ecological restoration to tackle invasive species, promote biodiversity, and improve soil health, all without machinery and chemicals. And one of the things that we were talking about post-recording about why goats are so great for invasive species in particular is because if you take a brush hog through an environment where you need to control an invasive species, the output from the brush hog can sometimes make those cuttings can reroot and it can actually become worse. Whereas that's not the case with the goats because they're ruminant animals and so they digest differently. And so their output is nutrient dense as opposed to being something that can reroot, which is especially critical for invasive, which I thought was wildly interesting. Julia is a first-generation farmer. I love being able to talk to first-generation farmers, especially on the podcast here, because it's so interesting to talk about why they wanted to go into farming in the first place. And so Julia touches on that today. And she spent a decade of her early career in public service. She was a firefighter, an EMT, and a police officer. So wildly different change here for her. And she talks about why she wanted to do that. Her desire to restore land and community are really at the root of that, along with shared values. We talk about all of those components on the show today, as well as a little bit of regenerative ag, and so many goats. There's some sheep discussion thrown in there too. Enjoy the conversation. Hey, Julia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for joining me today. Your first podcast. I promise to take it easy on you.
I appreciate it.
So I always love to start these with at the beginning. So tell me a little bit about your background leading up to the work you're doing now.
Well, my background has absolutely nothing sort of to do with what I'm doing now. I have a pretty diverse background. The last little over a decade, I've been a public servant. I started as a firefighter EMT for several years, and the last 6 years, I was a sworn police officer.
And what brought you into that work? What made you want to do that?
So that work, I was brought into, my mom had gotten sick and I felt pretty helpless at the time. So I actually started volunteering as a firefighter when I was, I think, 21 or 22. And it felt like just a good way to feel like I had purpose and I was doing something good. And that sort of just kept evolving, even though it had nothing to do with my degrees in the past. It kind of just kept evolving because it kept me moving. It's very dynamic. There was lots of problem solving. Obviously you can kind of see the escalation into, so that rolled into, well, I wanted to acquire more skill sets so I could help more people. So I became an EMT and then I became a professional firefighter, and that rolled into then, well, police respond to all those and more. And I kind of kept seeing it as a way in an avenue to continue to try to help more and more people. As cliched as that is.
No, I love it. I love it. I was at a conference last week and I was reflecting on like why I thought that place was unique and why I wanted to be there. It was Fargo, North Dakota. And it just came down to, I think that there are places that just hit different, right? It's just there's something special about certain places. I love upstate New York for that reason. Fargo, North Dakota is the same. And so I think you can feel that in a lot of different ways. And sometimes it's a role and sometimes it's an industry and sometimes it's a place. And so you just felt connected to that work. So I don't think that that's cliche at all. But you said it has nothing to do with your degree. What is your degree in?
I actually went to, I know you're based in Rochester. I actually went to RIT for 2 years and studied industrial engineering.
Okay.
Realized that the kind of engineering world and office life, I did a few internships, did well, but couldn't see myself thriving and being happy in that career in a sedentary lifestyle. Obviously, I'm very active. So I also do several. I did an Ironman in 2014 and like classes. I like being active and having dynamic work, and a sedentary desk job was just not for me. And I finished my degree actually at UB. I moved home when my mom got sick, and I finished my degree at UB for just business administration, just a single degree. And that's around the same time, as I said before, that actually while I was a student at UB finishing up my degree, I started volunteering, and then after I graduated, I found myself doing a few things, coaching here and there, a few side jobs, and then I got hired full time with the fire department at that point.
So how long were you in public service?
At least over a decade. Yeah, the past decade.
Yep. And then so then you took a sharp left turn, you made your change. Why did you do that? And what was your pivot to?
We're both police officers as of last year. And we had reached a point, we both had kind of the same drive in that career. And we realized very quickly that we were limited in our capabilities, and we weren't able to fill that purpose of helping people as much as we had hoped. We felt that we didn't agree really with the administrative and managerial practices in our department, and we desperately tried to improve those systems while we were there, but we realized very quickly, unfortunately, that the systems were kind of breaking us as individuals instead of the other way around. Yeah. And after a few breaking point moments, we knew we needed a drastic change.
Wow. That's such a hard position to be in. And I think it's really that much more impactful for it to be happening in a public service role too, because there's so many layers to that, right? The idea that this is supposed to be a role that's helping my community, but there's all this bureaucracy. I was employed in professional services for 10 years while I worked full-time on the side. Agency 29 was a freelancing side venture for 10 years while I worked full-time in professional services. And the real thing that was my compelling moment to take the leap into working for myself was the same thing, right? That bureaucracy, right? Where it was like, I would observe so many things that were happening that were just bullshit, right? And Absolutely. In corporate, it happens a lot. And it's just one of those things that's kind of like, well, this is how they want to run this company. I think it's that much more frustrating when it's public service, right? Because it's like, but taxpayer dollars, what's happening?
And we should be altruistic, and not everyone is. And for some people, it's an ego thing. And that's just the antithesis of what I am about. And I was there for purpose, and I felt like I wasn't serving that purpose anymore. Not in that capacity.
Right. Yeah. So you decide, all right, we got to do something different. And what are you doing now? So tell everyone what you're doing now.
So now there was obviously many growth periods and trials and tribulations along the way. So right now I run a goatscaping company out of Albion, New York. We're a bit more than that. We're a small farm, a small regenerative agriculture farm. So we're focused on improving the soil, carbon sequestering, and really creating a biodiverse atmosphere here where people can come and reconnect with nature and experience kind of the healing effect of that.
So tell me why. How did you land on goatscaping? Because regenerative, we've had a lot of guests on the show talk about regenerative. There's many different aspects to what regenerative means, how it's defined, what it means to a different business and brand and company and consumer and all those things. Why goatscaping?
So goatscaping, I can't see it as like the best ecological option for land management as far as an alternative to heavy machinery and chemicals, you name it. Um, the pivoting moment, I guess, actually, of when I decided to even start to pursue the avenue of goatscaping was it was kind of the perfect timing, call it, serendipity, the universe, whatever you want to call it. Last year, right when we were in that kind of breaking moment, realizing we needed a dramatic change, we knew we always had this dream of having a farm and a homestead. It was a retirement dream. We also kind of realized in those careers, retirement was kind of a farce. I knew multiple retirees that died of heart attacks within the first year or two of their retirement. We realized very quickly that we were just grinding ourselves down for potentially our lives.
Right. For what? Right.
Exactly. So we were trying to figure out a way that we could make our dream retirement into a business and just kind of skip the grind part. And again, call it serendipity, whatever. Actually, I think the TEDx talks in Buffalo are occurring now, but last year, Jen Zeitler performed or presented rather, and she runs Let's Goat Buffalo, and she is like
Let's Goat Buffalo.
Goat
Okay,
Buffalo.
cool.
So Jen Zeitler had this amazing presentation about how he used her business of goatscaping to reconnect with nature and for her own healing journey. And that resonated obviously very, profoundly with me. And he talked about obviously the benefits of it, but it was more so about her journey she was an occupational therapist in a very, very corporate world. And he, again, made that very crazy kind of switch in a lot of people's minds. And to me, it just made all the sense in the world. And so I immediately started hounding her down. I think I reached out to her on every platform I could afterwards. And I even signed up for her volunteer hours on her farm. She runs a care farm down in Springville, New York. And we spent the entire time just talking about her business. She saw the passion and the desperate need on my part to just want to do this. And she loved that, energy, and she leaned into it. She also has a waiting list for like 2 years and knows that there are a lot of people that want these services, but she's, limited in how many jobs she can take on. So she actually took it as an opportunity to help us start our business. So
she had a wait list of people who wanted her goats, and you were like, I think I want to do goats. And so she then got to help you start in many ways.
She was absolutely the best mentor I could have asked for. She just like showed up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden everything just kind of started falling into place. I spent all last summer kind of apprenticing her under her business while she helped me get the groundwork going for my own. We spent just over a year looking for a property. We finally secured our little farm in Albion this past winter, and we've just been rapidly building since. And I'm working our first contract of the summer currently right now.
So first of all, congratulations. I'm a big believer in I'm not a religious person, but I'm a big believer that the universe will send you things when you're paying attention to them, right? So there's a reason
you say that.
Yeah.
That was part of what Jen, I think, had to ingrain in me. She's like, I know you came from a career where you don't really trust people.
Yeah.
But she said, you're going to find that once you start kind of tapping into whatever you want to call it, your dharma, your purpose, once you start tapping into that, she's like, you are going to receive things from people. People are going to want to just give you support. And you're going to find that everything just starts kind of coming together and falling into place. And I was very skeptical when she was telling me this when we were, just chatting about a year ago. But damned if she wasn't right.
Yes. So that was one of the first serious conversations Jen and I had
about getting into this business. And when you truly have a passion for just wanting to put something for not only your community, but your environment out there, that it's kind of, it's just altruistic in that kind of way. And once you have a passion that you're driving for in that way, she just told me that everything just starts, people will just start finding you that you need to connect with. And if that isn't true, I mean, even just moving to Albion, New York, I am unbelievably grateful for the connections that we've made, even in just the short time that we've been here. We somehow connected with all of the people that we needed to, that were passionate about, what we're doing, and they're doing something in the same way, or we fold into each other's vision perfectly. Actually, the job that I'm on right now, that I have the goats grazing on currently, is a former tree plantation, 80 acres, that this woman, Rosemary is turning into a nature preserve herb farm that will also have a lot of retreat aspects. And the two of us have just been like two bees buzzing around, because we just kind of folding into each other's visions perfectly. I can't say enough about the Cornell CCE office. I feel like the networking we've done there has just been invaluable to our operation, and the connections that we've made. Even just the resources from Cornell, like their small farms courses, we've been, as
Yeah.
former Citiots, we've taken a lot of time educating ourselves, because we are first generation and we didn't grow up doing any of this. So we've been really immersed in educating ourselves so that we are responsible about what we're doing and caring for our livestock and our animals. I did the goat production course through Cornell this past winter, and I just am a sponge for learning as much as I can, and I'm among a lot of like-minded individuals.
I love it. It comes down to that idea of, like you mentioned, folding into someone's vision. It comes down for me with the way that we work with people, and that attraction mindset is what you're talking about, right? The idea of what is meant for you
Manifesting.
will find you. Yes, 100%. I am here for it. The idea of shared values, of like when you surround yourself with people who have a liked mindset. And I'm all for diversity of thought and opinion. I'm not saying that, right? I'm all for
Absolutely.
that. Diversity of thought, I think, is critical. But I'm talking about values. Like, what do you stand for? The idea of aligning with like-minded people is just, I think, the secret sauce to good business, truly, because when you build that and you find people and align yourself with people who have that kind of shared value, like Let's Go Buffalo, right? That she was happy to help you because she saw in you that you were not trying to take advantage of her, right?
Yes.
And so that's you found that shared value alignment, and that is one of the things that leads to business success. I mean, I think that like I said, I think that's the secret sauce to
I've
healthy
been
business.
blown away by how generous people are. It seems like as soon as we're aware of a need, all of a sudden somebody swoops in and is there. And I, again, you call it the universe, whatever.
Mhm.
It's been, I've been awestruck, honestly, by it. We've even had just as simple as, we needed to find hay, and then the neighbor next door wandered over, his nephew did, and he's like, oh, I have a hay farm and a llama farm, why don't you come on by? And he ended up giving us actually hundreds of dollars worth of hay,
Mhm.
just because he thought we were really nice and genuine and really liked what we were doing, and he knew that we'd look after his uncle. It's just this whole community in the farm, and what we're learning, I think, about the farming community especially, is that it's these close
Yes.
ties. And no matter what's going on in the world, we all we have is each other in our local community. And
Mhm.
if you're, if you can lean on someone, then they know that they can lean on you. And I
Mhm.
feel like the farming community is all about just supporting each other, at least the community that we've been a part of. And it's not, even if somebody's doing something similar to you, it's not competition. It's how can we support each other and both thrive.
I
And that's
totally
how Jen
agree.
sees it.
Yes, yes. And that is a common thread that we talk about often on the show here with folks that I bring on. that are various sectors of food, bev, ag, that idea of collaboration and shared values and everything like that, it is frequent in the industry, which is a beautiful thing. So tell me a little bit, like, I'd love a high point and a low point from your career post public service, like, because I'm sure you've got many of
That could be a
both
whole other
from
podcast, but I'm not here for
exactly.
that soapbox.
Yep. So tell me about a high point and a low point.
Oh, geez. I would say a high point was landing our first contract and meeting Rosemary and learning about the amazing thing that she's doing with her 80-acre former tree plantation. She's establishing the grateful forest there.
So
I
wait,
think.
who's Rosemary?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, so it was kind of kismet that we met Rosemary, and she's our first client and first contract that we're working this year. But the Rosemary, it's just actually a coincidence. The
Okay.
Rosemary of Rosemary and Pine is actually named after my late mother, Rosemary.
Oh, lovely.
And Pine, we are actually planting acres of Christmas trees. So in about 5 to 6 years, we'll actually be selling Christmas trees off of our back acreage. Very small scale,
Yep.
but the reason that kind of folds in perfectly with our farm and our regenerative farm is we like what Jen does in Let's Go Buffalo. If you're not familiar, she has kind of a Christmas tree recycling program. She doesn't grow her own Christmas trees, but she accepts Christmas tree donations at the end of season from the local community, and people will pull up with, pickup trucks full of Christmas trees, and the goats just ravish them because it is an amazing infusion of vitamins and greenery midwinter that they are absolutely in love with because they've been eating hay for a couple of months at that point usually.
Yep.
And they love, love, love the Christmas trees. And actually this last spring, my wife and I even took and used some of the lumber to start building a greenhouse for her with the reused lumber from the
the
tree.
Christmas trees. Oh,
Yep.
so cool. I love it. So Rosemary was your first client. So continue on from there.
Yep. So that I would say that high of making that connection and feeling that synergy, and also just having revenue on the books as a business, and
Yeah.
that's a huge moment. And I would say, oh gosh, I know there were a lot of lows with the property search. We made countless offers on properties and various homesteads. Our kind of scope was within about 3 hours of Buffalo, since that's where a lot of our family and friends are. And we were getting pretty. It was. I knew we were close when I felt like I was close to my breaking point and was almost ready to give up. Because I knew it just had to be around the corner, because I didn't know how much longer I could take of hearing no. I would say that was a pretty big low point. And I think my first real farm lesson was when a fox took about 8 of our pullets. That was a pretty low moment as well. But we're trying to take everything in stride, and I actually had a call with Jen shortly after, because I was just beside myself. And I know it's a part of farm life that you lose animals sometimes. You do your best, but the way that she even phrased it, which I thought was, I try to remind myself regularly, is it's still nature, and nature is always going to be a fierce force. And who are we to think that we can control everything in nature?
Right.
And it was a really good reminder of what regenerative farming is, and coming back to the land and focusing on, I like to explain to people that nature is this beautiful self-balancing thing. And if you think of it like a wheel, humans just can't help but just kind of like manipulate spokes and take them out, and we think that we're helping, but we're really harming, because it is this delicate balance of everything, and we're just ripping spokes out. And I see our business as a way of just makeshifting at least some temporary ones to try to help her, keep spinning,
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like the
Yeah, I
analogy I
love
like
that
using.
analogy. Yeah, no, I love that. I love that visual because I think also sometimes it's about taking a spoke of the wheel out and putting something back in that's stronger.
Yes.
Because the idea of goatscaping is land management in a more sustainable way. And so you are still changing what was done before, but you're putting in a different spoke, is kind of how I see it. So, who is your ideal client? Like, what is it mostly municipalities that have like difficult to reach land, or is it corporations, or who are you
So
targeting?
you name it, pretty much anyone with land or property. We do private, we do municipalities. One of the jobs that I helped Jen with was actually in Casanova Creek Park in South Buffalo. That was a very public facing job. We did a lot of educational elements in the park with the goats. And I also do, private residential, businesses, but essentially anyone that has the land management need where they have an overgrown area, specifically if it's taken over by multiflora rose, which can be very, very difficult to remove, poison ivy, poison oak, invasives like knotweed that just kind of take over and push out all of the native habitats and plants. Those are what our goats are, that's their specialty.
Okay.
And that is their kind of ideal. I also did a few jobs last summer where they had a pond that you couldn't even really find, and we opened up a few access
Hmm.
points. And it's just really anything land management needs, but they're particularly good with the invasives, which are what a lot of people need to push back so they can try to reclaim some of their land for the native habitat and the native plants. That's the ideal
Interesting.
situation.
Cool. So do you have like a trailer for them and you just trailer them around and you show up on site, and like do you have to gate them in for the area that they're gonna control, or how does that look?
Yep. So we have a livestock trailer that we've converted to, we like to refer to it as the mobile barn.
Uh-huh.
We each, basically day one, we typically do week to 2 week contracts, sometimes months, depending on the job size. Uh, but we do typically book in weeks. And so day one, we roll in with the trailer, we set up electric fencing, we let the goats out. I've got lots of great videos of them just truly just running out of the trailer and ravishing these, massive groves of multiflora rose that you and I wouldn't even be able to walk through. I have pictures even from today where I was showing Rosemary the before picture and you couldn't even see the goats that were eating in it. And then we were standing in front of where it was just, woody stalks that are just barren, basically.
Wow.
And they get right to work, and they do stay on location. So they'll stay on the job site for the entirety of the job. They
Oh,
do get,
okay.
if there are any health concerns or anything like that, we'll shuttle them back and forth to the farm if needed. I know that
Mm.
we did that a little bit last year. I know Jen had a couple where she was concerned about their hooves, so we swapped them out for another goat at the
Mhm.
farm. But yeah, we stay on location, and I even we have one goat, about to have two goats that are in milk, and I even milk on location. And
Oh,
it's
wow.
oh yeah, yeah. I've really, when I said I dove in from being a citizen, I really
Yes.
dove in.
So like you guys stay, do you and your wife both stay with the goats when you guys go on location somewhere?
So I do a lot of pastoral herding. So I do try to stay with the goats as much as possible. It just helps with our bond. There are times when I have to
Yeah.
leave to go pick up hay, run errands, tend to my own farm
Yep.
for a bit. But I do try to be on location as much as possible. I also have like a goat cam that I set up that I focus on the pen for when I'm not on location. I've got that next to me right now.
Cool.
Um, and we just monitor. We're mostly just monitoring for health and making sure that they always have a good source of water and that
Hmm.
everybody's doing well. But I honestly just I find it so therapeutic, and I love hanging out with the goats all day. So it's more of
Yeah.
like I just want to be there. I don't really have to for a lot of
Yeah.
it, but I find a lot of good benefits from bonding with them, and when they're more comfortable with me, it's obviously makes my job a lot easier because goats are infamous for being escape artists, and we have a few minor escapees here and there, but they're pretty easily wrangled back because of the rapport that I have with them.
Yeah. Man, what a change. You went from wrangling like
Criminals.
the bad people, yeah, to goats. That's such a lovely
Which
transition.
can be criminals in their own way.
Yes, right. Different, yeah, different type. But just such a different pace of life, you know.
But still very
I love that for
dynamic,
you.
still so much problem solving.
Yes.
And I like to tell people that the problems that I have now, though, they make sense and they have real solutions.
Yeah.
Whereas the problems that I was facing before, as you mentioned, were rooted out of bureaucracy and political dynamics and egos, and none of that made sense to me.
Yeah,
And
values that did not align with
no.
yours. Yes, right. Yeah. So how much can a team of goats clear? Like I'm thinking selfishly, because behind me, you can't see it through this window, but we are on 3 acres with our house, and then we have an adjacent 3 acres that we also own that is overgrown, and we can't even, like we've talked about, should we get a tractor just to do, you know, a pull behind to go through there, but there's old farm equipment that's in there somewhere that's been there forever since we bought it. And so we're like, well, we don't want to ruin anything. And there's also, it goes down to water. And so I feel like the goats would be a great solution, right? So
uncover that.
Yes.
That's why they are, I truly say very genuinely all the time, they are the best solution and the most eco-friendly. The reason goats are so amazing is they can traverse very difficult terrain, rocky ledges, without any issues. They have amazing depth perception, and they can basically cut out pathways, open up these spaces that otherwise you might not even be able to access with heavy machinery. You know, chemicals and pesticides, as far as I'm concerned, are just never really a good option. And so it as far as back to your original question of, you know, kind of what it takes, it very much depends on a lot of those factors. What's overgrown in that area, how dense it is, what the terrain is like. But on average, in about a week, they can clear a quarter to a half acre, depending on a lot of those factors.
Cool. I love this so much. I feel like another place where it would be really beneficial is solar, right? Because they can go under the solar.
Yep. It's funny you mentioned that, because I know we were talking a little bit earlier, but one of the things that I'm actually actively pursuing and looking to get into now are folding in some sheep. Because goats would not be ideal for solar for the potential of them climbing on the equipment. I wouldn't want to be responsible or liable for any damage to any of that. But sheep, however, they don't climb, they don't traverse, they just, you know, meander, you know, very docile through. So that is actually one thing that we're looking into expanding into already, even though we just started, is folding in some sheep.
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know, you tell me, I haven't had animals on where I lived in many years. I grew up on a dairy farm, you know, but we don't have any animals now. I have 2 animals who are my children, but that's it. But I feel like once you have them, to add a couple more, you know, what's a couple sheep when you've already got goats? Whereas like if you're going from, I would love to have chickens, and we were just talking about potentially, like, do we get some free range chickens to meander in our, you know, in our backyard? But it feels like a big leap to go from nothing to chickens. Whereas I feel like if you've already got goats, to just add some sheep is not that big of a deal.
Exactly. And I'll have you say that for my wife too. No, luckily she's been great about, if anything, she wanted the sheep before I even was like, oh, maybe I could work it into the business. She was like, no, sheep. So, no, I really, at this point, it was, for a while, I thought that maybe I'd get into sheep a few years down the line, but it, just like what you said, I'm feeling, you know, pretty comfortable with the goats, and I'm already doing lots of daily routines with their care, and it
Yes.
really won't be much, to really
Right.
fold in a few more.
Yeah, and the industrial scale of solar from a farming perspective, and the necessity of continuous
Yep.
management underneath those panels is ongoing, and
Yes.
especially if you've already got the right insurances for municipal partnerships, that you could, for any municipal owned solar fields, or those are typically corporate owned, which is why I say that as well. But that could be an ongoing contract, like we will come twice a year, 4 times a year, whatever it is, and manage under the solar panels. And you don't have to hire somebody to come with a weed whacker, and it takes them 3 days. It takes my goats 3 weeks. You can, you know, reap all the benefits of the story of that
Yep.
too. You message that right. And I think that that is huge potential. I love that.
They often have actually very inflated budgets for their like lawn care, essentially, at
Yep.
the solar farms. So that was already kind of on my radar. That's why I was like, oh, in a couple of years, once I have my bearings,
Yeah.
I'll do sheep. And Jen actually had someone reach out to her recently about that. They had a few solar contracts that about if her goats could do that, and she advised them that sheep would actually be better. And she said that she had zero interest in getting into sheep at this point, but that another business that she was aware of was looking to build a flock. So I might actually be working with that gentleman in order
Love it.
to cater to his needs and establish
Right.
potentially a flock solely to run those contracts.
Yes.
So that is something that I'm kind of actively pursuing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Which also goes back to what we were talking about with the idea of when you are open-minded, the universe sending you things. And like, I equate that to when you are open-minded and you are ready to like think about next level things, and you hear something or something comes across your path, and you just sort of decide like, this is the direction I'm going, and I'm just gonna like, this is interesting, I'm just gonna veer over here a little bit and explore what this is, and it can really change the trajectory of things. And so I feel like that's a perfect example of, well, we had been talking about this, and then we weren't talking about it, and then the opportunity fell on our plate, and now we're like, well, if we
Yep.
have an opportunity to learn through this one and then do more, why not? I think that's
Full
like,
disclosure, will most likely be folding in 3 sheep because I just started a little bit
yes.
of research the other night, and we got in contact with a woman who has some health problems. She's downsizing her farm but doesn't want her sheep to go to auction. She wants them to have a great home. That's honestly how we get the majority of our goats, is
Yeah.
they come from farms where they were no longer viable. Whether like our one goat that is in milk, our little matriarch, Linda, she had mastitis 2 years ago. She came from a breeding dairy
Yep.
farm. She has a little teat. Everything functions well. She's happy, healthy, but she was no longer viable for their farm. They put a lot of care and work into her and loved her very dearly and didn't want to see her go to pasture, so to speak. So instead, she now gets fresh pasture every day as a second career.
Yes.
So
That's
that's
so
the majority
awesome.
of our goats are kind of Jen actually runs a rescue with her care farm, but we've become sort of a pseudo rescue, just kind of
Yeah.
basically replicating her business.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, so tell me what's next for Rosemary and Pine, and how people can get in touch with you and think about bringing you into their operations. What's next, and how do they get in touch with you?
Well, what's next is probably some sheep.
Yep. Love it. Love it.
So folding in a flock with the herd. And as far as how people can get in touch, we're on Instagram, Rosemary and Pine, Facebook as well. We have a website that you can actually fill out a form to request an assessment. We do free assessments, scheduling allow. And the website is www.rosemaryandpinefarm.com. I think that was it for your question.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's it. That's awesome. Well, thank you for coming on, and I knew zilch about goatscaping, and so you've broadened my horizons, and I will go talk to my husband about bringing some goats over there to that adjacent 3-acre lot, and I'd love to just see the experience too. And so I appreciate you taking the time to educate me today.
Oh, absolutely. We'd love to.
Yes, awesome. Thanks, Julia. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Spilled Salt. I'm your host, Maureen Ballatori. Spilled Salt is an Agency 29 production. Agency 29 is a brand building firm for food, beverage, and agriculture brands. Learn more at agency29.com. For more information about the podcast, visit spilledsaltpodcast.com. Use that website to send me questions or recommendations for future guests. I always love hearing from you. Spilled Salt is available anywhere you enjoy your podcasts. Please like and subscribe so you never miss an episode.